Next story is my story, which is 400 and change words shorter than Return of the King.
God, I still cannot fucking believe that.
I guess I'll introduce this one for those who are not familiar. Um, our next story is Plasticine Soul, which is a story I wrote. It is a cyberpunk AU that combines Beforus and Alternia. It is set on Alternia, but it features a whole bunch of the Dancestors, including most of the main cast are the Dancestors. And yeah, there's a lot going on. We've been kind of circling this like heist that they've all been doing, which went real bad, and we're learning slowly why. Let me see who's voiced in this chapter. I know we've got Mina is like the main voice. We've got Mina, Arania, and Vriska. So I want to do narration. If you want to do the voices, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that
Unless
sounds
you
good.
want to, bow out of any specific voices. But I'm cool with that division of labor. Oh, and there's a scratch
Hmm.
text thing which you can read because your voice is good for
I can do it.
that.
I can do a shitty little man. I don't even remember.
I
God,
don't know, but it was good.
I think I did like something like I don't remember. I'll do something obnoxious again, probably.
It was like
You get a
evil
different.
taco. It was kind of like evil taco,
Ooh.
but less lilty. It was like evil taco that were more deadpan.
Yeah, I can just do a different terrible man every time, but no, I
Yeah,
do like that.
you'll do it whatever you feel in your soul.
Oh,
um,
I'm sure I'll feel more and more things the more I like. You have a very specific way of writing him,
yeah, I
so
do. This is one of his less creepy dialogues, but it gets worse and better and then worse. There aren't any specific triggers for this chapter.
fuck. I forgot that this isn't an image, Shania. That this is like CSS in the fucking. I
Right.
like selected it. I can actually select the text. Fuck.
Yes, you can.
Sorry.
If that helps you read it, then go for it.
It doesn't. I was like, oh, I'll click and drag the image, and then it wasn't. All
All
right.
right.
Okay.
Chapter 11, Burn Notice. 12th Periges Eve, the Cerulean Promenade, North Alternian capital. Nina had already told a half lie the other day. She didn't wonder what was in the file that Scratch had provided, because she already knew. Poor Miriam had showed up at her apartment directly with a diskette. Said it would play on any standard Telnet terminal. She was right. It fired right up, and the words burned their way from the screen into her mind.
Welcome. Welcome, Miss Paches. I'll cut straight to the chase, because I know you're a busy woman. I know how to get you back into the good graces of your former associates. I know how to ensure that they forget about your various indiscretions and personality conflicts. Won't that be wonderful? To be able to walk in the light of high blood society again? To be able to proudly flaunt your status as one of the superior caste? To have your open defiance of your empress's wishes washed away as if it were only a pile of sand on the beach instead of a wall of solid steel you built for yourself? As a gesture of good faith, as well as to show my considerable influence, I have put you and Miss Circuit in touch with the most reliable source for acquiring the necessary hardware for the job I am hiring you all for. If my reconnecting you with Mr. Emperor does nothing to ease your doubts, you will simply have to trust me. Scratch.
It was complete hoofbeat shit, written by someone with an academic sense of high blood society and no sense for the levels of nuance that existed. When she when she knew the job had gone off without incident, Mina planned to be on her way out of the city. She had a friend who could help her buy her way off world, and she was going to be on the next ship out to the one of the colony worlds by the end of the week. She hadn't told Arania, or any of the others, but Arania in particular, what her plans were. She had spoken to the friend, but he was sworn to secrecy, and she knew he would keep his word. All she needed to do was show up with enough credits to set any Alternian up for life anywhere, and she would have the truest freedom that was possible. A one-way trip to a world where the blood classes were a distant memory, and there was only the daily struggle to eke out a life on some rock that the Alternian Empire hadn't even bothered to name. Whoever Scratch was, he didn't have the first idea of what was going on inside her head, and she intended to keep it that way. Mina leaned back in the chair by the terminal, put her feet up on the desk. They'd be hitting the bank soon enough, and then that would be it. It was nothing compared to an Alternian fleet depot. That had been a mistake from the beginning. Everyone got greedy, and then everyone got stupid, even her. Her hardline phone started buzzing. Mina leaned forward and grabbed the headset.
What is it? I told you not to. We got burned!
That didn't make any sense.
What? What the fuck are you? I mean, we got burned! I trust the drive and just killed 3 people.
Which wasn't on the list of things Mina expected to hear. Her mind reeled. There were so many angles to this, and she hadn't even begun to consider them all.
Shit, what now?
She yelled into the phone. It was the best she could manage given the circumstances. Mina was already casting her gaze over the pistol she had resting on the desk.
I'm going to the bank now. It was a trap. Get out of your house.
She almost laughed at that one. She wasn't in on the job directly, which meant she was basically free. Even a disgraced fuchsia blood wasn't someone that some random assholes were going to start trouble with.
Bitch?
She could hear the sneer in her voice.
They're not gonna fucking touch me.
Her eyes strayed again to the pistol.
What if it's not who you think it is? Get your stupid fucking ass out!
The radio phone flared up and then blasted out a riot of static. Mina leapt forward, grabbed the pistol, and managed to get under the table right before her windows exploded inward in a hail of bullets. If Mina had ever been in the fleet, she would have certainly recognized the roar of the combat drone as it hovered outside and fired into the apartment. She half crawled, half ran along the ground into the center of the apartment where the thick concrete support pillar would provide cover from the gunfire. It was deafening to the point where she wanted to curl up into a ball in the middle of the floor and cry. But she knew to stop. There was one way out, a feature that had originally been installed as a wartime safety measure by an especially paranoid and especially rich former occupant. It was the reason that Mina had selected this specific apartment. Because no matter how sure you were, you always left yourself a way out. In the center of the apartment, there was a trapdoor that led to a ladder in a concrete-lined tunnel. It would take her down 5 stories to an underground passage that would take her clear of the apartment itself. She hauled the trapdoor open and slid down onto the ladder. Stowing the pistol in her belt, she began to climb down, letting the trapdoor close behind her. She was immersed in darkness that wouldn't end until she got to the end of the ladder, where there was emergency lighting installed. Mina was about 1 floor from the bottom, and she heard a roar from above. The tunnel suddenly flared with a pinpoint of light from above, and she felt a massive wave of pressure hit her. She was free falling. She hit the ground with a heavy thud. Mina woke up to find herself slung over someone's shoulder, moving through the tunnel. They were muttering, a low woman's voice that carried a kind of hidden menace.
Fucking shit is what it is.
The voice said.
Just go and wait for her. Then they're gonna come in and drag her ass all the way out.
Mina groaned, and she felt the woman carrying her shift. Something hard was digging into her stomach.
No, cut your shit out. We're almost there. At least I'm still alive.
She couldn't think straight. The fall had knocked her around a lot, and everything was still all fuzzy. The woman carrying her laughed.
Guess you figured out he doesn't care about your fucking blood class.
As a matter of fact, She had just been getting to the point of that realization herself. She groaned again and tried to move. It wasn't a very successful attempt.
Hold still, goddammit.
The woman commanded.
At least let me get you somewhere safe.
After a minute more of walking, the woman stopped. Slowly, she shifted Mina off and set her down on the ground, leaned up against the
Oh.
corridor wall.
Okay.
The woman peered down at her. She was tall, taller than Mina, and a little bit on the lanky side. But she looked like the kind of lanky that was all steel and grit. Her hair was black and tied back into a rough ponytail. Her most striking feature, however, wasn't anything she'd been born with. Her left eye was clearly hardware. It whirred softly as she examined Mina's face. And her left arm, a metallic framework, a hardware limb to replace one that had been lost at some point. She reached out with the metal arm and, with surprising dexterity, she cupped Mina's face in the cold, metal fingers.
You look like shit,
She said.
You know your name? You can speak and shit?
Mina groaned. The fog was starting to lift a little.
Mina Pache, bitch.
The woman grinned, a strangely hostile expression when she did it.
Oh, yeah, you're fine.
Mina's hands strayed to her belt, and the woman shook her head.
I've got your gun. No idea how you'd react.
She looked around the tunnel, then spoke again.
So, here's the deal. You're coming with me, or I'm gonna fucking leave you for that bastard to kill. Your choice. I can't make it for you.
Mina groaned again.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
The woman rolled her eyes. The hardware eye tracked with a slight delay behind her bio one.
Can you walk at least? Help me out.
Mina muttered. The woman nodded and reached to help support Mina. With her help, Mina was able to stand, if shakily. Together, they walked the rest of the way to the end of the corridor. The woman opened the door, and they stepped out into the low alley that ran between two apartment blocks. The woman spoke again.
I've got a car parked right at the end of the alley. Let's go.
They were halfway down the alleyway when Mina heard shouting from the other side. She turned to see two trolls dressed in full body armor, both holding rifles. Mina froze. But the woman she was leaning against didn't. With almost impossible speed, she drew a long-barreled pistol from inside of her jacket and fired twice. Each round hit dead center in the heads of the trolls at the other end of the alley, and they crumpled without making a sound or firing a shot. Snored. The woman stowed the pistol in her jacket again, and they kept walking. As promised, there was a car waiting at the far end of the alley, a late model electric sedan that reminded Mina of the Alternian intelligence service. Once the woman had helped Mina into the passenger side of the vehicle, she slid behind the wheel and grinned over at Mina.
Time to go pay your friends a visit, assuming they're still alive. They weren't super clear on the specifics on that.
Mina leaned back heavily in the seat and closed her eyes. She felt like shit.
Why were you even here? Who are you?
And the woman answered. Mina could hear the brash confidence in her voice.
The name's Vriska, bitch!
And then Vriska laughed as if this was the funniest thing she'd ever said in her life.
God, that's fucking good. It took me a second. It took me a second to figure out who it was, but I noticed.
Yeah, I didn't want to spoil it completely, but like the description is a pretty dead giveaway.
Yeah, I read faster than you read out loud.
Uh-huh.
All right, what's